Would have known there was more than one Corey Hart song. I didn't know that. No?
Wow. I didn't realize that either.
Apparently us and Hope Van Dyne.
I literally had one hit. That's right. Hope Van Dyne.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's PT. For those counting, this is episode 141 and our first of 2024. Our third year, Jason, of Granny's PT.
Wow.
3P.
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty. But don't forget, never surrender. Never surrender. So, yes, we're opening up with Never Surrender by Corey Hart, courtesy of What If Season 2 and Hope Van Dyne's fantastical playlist from episode 3 of What If Season 2. Hope everyone had a great New Year's. Happy New Year, gentlemen. Jason, Rick, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Text and stuff. Yeah, we've got basically just two topics to discuss tonight, but you know, it's always good. Put it that way. When it's us, it's always good. So we'll definitely.
The question of this show is, what if we had a short show?
Yes, it's come a long way, Jason, from over 3 hours to what we're gonna have tonight. So.
That's right. Jeez, I'll never forget, man. That first episode, it just kept going and going.
I was just like, man, are we ever gonna finish this thing?
Is that longer than the Spider-Man one?
That was the longest episode we've ever done. Still the first one.
Yeah.
Oh man, wait. What did you cover in the first episode again?
Everything.
It just came up recently.
Everything.
Wonder Woman 84.
Wonder Woman 84.
Yes.
The first two episodes of WandaVision, and a ton of news stuff.
Yeah, that was back when we were trying to do news every week.
Yeah, but now we're playing with the format a little bit, right? Right now, shows are not bogging us down, but we're going to do the drop. We're going to do the one season drop. But I am Ed. With me, as always, is Jason, and with us is Rick this week. Fellas, what's up?
What's up, boys?
What's going on? Always good to be here, pondering the question together. What if? Like, what if the MCU never got off the rails? What if they couldn't get Robert Downey Jr.? Where would the world be? We wouldn't have a show. Robert Downey Jr. would still be doing drugs. The MCU has made the world a better place. Now it's time for Strange to come and kill us all, which is usually how this thing goes.
That is true, actually. Yeah, he's Supreme Strange. Always finds a way. Right.
Yeah, what a dickbag.
Yeah, like I guess it's not such a crazy idea, right? Like even though he's a hero in the MCU and in the comics and everything, but he has the potential to be a total douchebag.
He's much stronger as a villain, though. That might be his true nature.
Yes.
I mean, he's so much more powerful as a villain.
Well, I don't know. I mean, think about the things he's done as a hero in the MCU. I mean, he's done some crazy shit. I mean, he was going toe-to-toe with Thanos when he had a good amount of the Infinity Stones, right, in Infinity War.
Yeah, but then he sat out the rest of the fight.
Well, he sacrificed himself because he saw the one outcome.
Look,
it was a sacrifice. It was playing the long game.
I've always felt like he turned into
Doctor?
Batman in that scene when Batman was watching Superman fight. It's just like, I'm the mortal. I'm just going to stand over here. I don't know.
Now, you got to think about it. Doctor Strange is pulling the Mel Brooks. He just took a look at the future of the movie, went, "Oh shit, we're gonna need Tony Stark."
Then
Guys, don't worry, I saw Endgame. Trust me.
I love the meme that was going around at that time. Like, listen, Doctor Strange has seen Endgame.
Yes.
Or what the hell was it? I forgot the number it was. A crazy amount of it. And he's not spoiling the shit. Be like Doctor Strange.
That was a great meme.
All right. So before we jump into it on our one quick topic, please make sure to join the broadcast and support the page by sending us some stars, which are digital gifts that helps us earn money for Pop Culture Pros, because that's who we are presented by, popculturepros.com. So come on and hang out and let's talk some comic book stuff. All right. So right before we generously. If you gave, it's true, actually. What if the Church of Kal-El still pushing strong in 2024? Or do we leave that behind in 2023?
We can resurrect it. What the hell? I haven't done it in a while, but look, Kal-El be blessed. Bless us all. Kal-El has given us a new year. Come on, support our page. Send some stars, digital gifts, earn us money. Hell, send us money. You know the deal. Kal-El always is in need.
All right,
this is a non-profit, right?
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Like every religion on paper.
All right, so as we were about to sign on, something did drop, and we definitely want to touch on this before we jump into What If Season 2. Steven Yeun, known for Glenn in The Walking Dead, and he is the voice of Invincible on Amazon Prime Video, apparently is out of Thunderbolts now. He was supposed to play the Sentry, who the rumor was that was going to be, the villain, the villain of Thunderbolts here.
Right.
And apparently he's out now due to the delays in the movie, because due to the actors and writer strikes and everything like that. I guess it's the good old scheduling conflict situation here. I mean, I've been combing through the story that on Hollywood Reporter and not really seeing a ton of stuff here. But I mean, I guess we can go around. I mean, I'm pretty bummed about this. I was kind of thinking this was going to be like his elevation role to potentially like the next level of stardom here.
Yeah, Jason, you want to chime in, or should I?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I agree. I like him a lot. He was my like my favorite regular Walking Dead person, because my favorite Walking Dead person is Michael Rooker, and nothing's going to change that. That man's amazing. But actually, Walter has a Michael Rooker story. My co-teacher Walter, he met him at a con, and he was dressed as Star-Lord. And he went, he said, "Hey, hi, Mr. Rooker, can I take a picture with you?" And he goes, "Get over here, boy. Let's take that picture." And then Walter stops and he goes, "Now, I've always pondered, did he call me boy because I was dressed as Star-Lord, or because he's a racist?" And we kind of had a joke about that.
That's great. That's pretty great.
But no, I like Glenn a lot in The Walking Dead. I really like him as the voice of Invincible. This bums me out. Like I would have liked to. I'm with you. This would have been the next step to his, stardom, and I'd like to see him make that. I think he's a hell of a talent.
Great, Rick. I know you're a huge Walking Dead guy, so
yeah, he was probably my third favorite character on The Walking Dead. Got a ton of screen time.
Hold on, time out. Who are the first two?
Rick and Shane.
Okay, fair enough. All right, go ahead. Sorry,
yours?
See that?
Wait, we got to go around now. If I'm going to show mine, you got to show yours.
I guess that's how the game is played. Shit. I'm going to be honest. I have never really thought about this.
For me, it could really, if anybody were to say any three characters, I would believe them, because the cast really is stellar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Morgan isn't even in my top 5, and I love Morgan's character.
I mean, I guess I would have to go with Rick, which is why I kind of felt like the show was not exactly the same since Andrew Lincoln decided to step away. Wow. I like Negan a lot, but I don't know. I guess I was somewhat along with the ride of kind of getting tired of him dominating a bit for a little while. Like I kind of just got annoyed with it. I think it felt like it was dragging on a little bit. But I'm also fascinated about his redemption arc. So that's why I'm kind of thinking maybe I got to put him in that top 3.
Didn't he kill Glenn? How did he get a redemption arc?
No, when he saved Rick. What's her name's evading me right now? Rick's daughter.
Oh fuck. It's not Carl.
When he saved not Carl.
Carl!
He began the redemption arc.
Okay, not Carl.
Shit, it's gonna come to me. By the way, it's gonna her name's gonna come to me in like episode 6 of What If. That's where it's gonna come to me completely out of nowhere.
I'm pretty sure it's not Carl.
No, I'm gonna tell you the truth. She actually got annoyed. She annoyed me eventually after a while anyway, because I feel like at a certain point she had no purpose. Besides, she would show up and wear the hat and stuff and be like, and have Rick's gun and be like, oh look, Judith.
There you go, Judith Grimes.
There you go.
Judith was just there to be there. That's what I kind of felt like. There was no purpose for her.
Well, they killed her off in the comic books when she was a baby.
No, I get it. And I guess
yeah.
she was, but the thing is, like, she never even took the Carl role in the comics. Like, she never, that's what I thought they were going to do, is just flip-flop them, and that was it. But they didn't even do that. They did nothing with her for, like, seasons.
Well, how about his other son with Michonne that's had, like, 20 seconds of screen time?
Yeah, I don't know.
They, like, march out this little kid. They're like, oh, this is Rick's prodigy. And then they, like, change the camera angle.
I don't know.
I missed a lot. Since I stopped watching.
Dude, he was with Michonne for a
Jason,
while.
it's not all as bad as people make it out to be. Like, it's bad, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
All right, I'm gonna say in fairness, there were bad seasons of The Walking Dead post.
Corona heard it. Those Whisper episodes would have been great if they could have shot them the way they wanted to.
I actually loved the Whisperer season. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, well, look, it could have been even better, in my opinion.
No, I think that the arc with the Whisperers was good, and I thought the last season was kind of strong, but they already announced the spinoffs. So what was the point of none of these characters were in danger then? That's what I thought was a huge
There was nothing
mistake.
to lose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so,
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I'm not gonna get this on a whole Walking Dead tangent, but it's not as post Rick. It was not as bad as some people made it out to be. There were like 1 or 2 bad seasons, and there were a couple episodes where I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching right now?
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst part.
Yeah,
that's the worst part. The filler episodes, the numbers started increasing.
There was one with Carol doing farming for a whole fucking episode, and I'm like, no. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, that's all right.
The spinoffs I've liked. I've really enjoyed the spinoffs though.
Daryl's been excellent,
and the
Dead City was cool.
Yeah, and spoiler, Jason, Rick and Michonne have their own spinoff starting next month.
Yeah.
Oh, so the guy who plays Rick is coming back just to do his own show.
He's coming back now, but he's also been gone for a while now. Like he's been gone for years.
He's gone.
Now.
He's been gone for years.
Yeah, so I think the idea from what
so
I
they
remember,
didn't kill his character.
No, they kind of did the fake death thing, and then there was a lot of time jumps after that, and a lot of it was like Daryl was trying to find Rick, and there was a lot of things that were mystery where the fuck Rick was, and things like that because we knew that he wasn't dead. So they did something kind of interesting with it because I think Andrew Lincoln was just he wanted to be around his family more because his kids were at a certain point in their life and stuff. And he felt like he was missing out on it. So he stepped away, and they were going to make it like a 3-movie trilogy thing, and then they turned it into a series.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So they've done some spinoffs, and I think the spinoffs have been successful. And I'm excited for this one. I'm sure me and Rick over here will be chatting about it plenty on the side. Even though Rick has given us shit for not covering The Walking Dead on our.
It's a comic book.
Here. It is, but there's too much back. There's too much backstory for Jason to have to go through. I would never do that to him.
The Walking Dead is so many hours.
It's a lot.
It's different when it's a show that
hours of viewing to catch up.
I stopped off before Negan. Like, I never made it to Negan.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But you did get to see the governor, who I still believe is the best villain they've ever had. When Governor gunned
that doesn't surprise me.
all of his people down, I think that's one of the one. But Glenn getting his head bashed and bothered everyone.
Yeah.
But when Glenn was Glenn, the governor's people were just people.
That's true. They were the Star Trek people that don't have names that go to the planet.
Red shirts.
Exactly.
They never make it back to the ship.
Okay. Oh, actually, I on our Facebook page, Don is booing the Don Mega is booing the story. He's not thrilled at this point. Okay. All right. So anything else further? I'm curious to know. Well, I guess we could also any ideas of who could replace him this century?
Oh, I have no idea. And I don't.
Let's see, kind of personality disorder, superpower. Basically, they're Superman. I mean, I'm sure people are going to jump to Henry Cavill because I think there are some who want to see him. I would like to see Henry Cavill.
How good would that be?
Jump to the MCU and be like their version of a Superman.
I'd like to see Henry Cavill in the MCU, but I'd like to see him be given something that isn't Superman-esque. I'd like to see him sort of put his stake down and do other things. Actually, don't tease me. All right, Henry Cavill with that fly. Give me Captain Britain, Henry Cavill. Yeah, that's what I want Henry Cavill doing.
So, are we saying that if Henry Cavill is ever cast as Captain Britain,
I'm in.
We would all be in. I guarantee that. Yeah. But does that mean we would have to see like an Excalibur movie? Because I used to destroy them in the comics. I thought they were the worst team ever created.
I love Excalibur and I love Alpha Flight.
I do too.
Of course you do.
A lot of my comic book collection was inherited, and I guess the people that purchased them loved these titles, and I ended up reading them and really liking them. Today, something interesting was brought up in a comic book group that I'm a member of that I'd never put together.
Well, wait, another one besides Granny's Peach Tea?
Another one besides Granny's Peach Tea.
Cheating on us.
And it's Puck. He's Canadian, and he's got an all-black outfit, and he's tiny.
Okay.
Supposedly, he's named after a Shakespearean character, but you're not going to convince me when it's a Canadian guy, and he's small, and he's got an all-black outfit.
He's named after a hockey player. I knew that's where you were going with this.
I think it works either way. I think they went, all right, we'll go do a Shakespeare, but those in the know will know.
Mm-hmm. You got to read into it.
Sometimes you do, and sometimes
do your
you
own
don't.
research and then read too much into it.
Exactly. Watch those rabbit holes. You may not fall down. All right. Well, hey, listen. If you're watching, you got any ideas of who can be Century now that Steven Yeun is out? Drop them in the comment section. We'll chat about them after we're done with What If. But let's get to What If. Let's get to season 2 of Marvel Studios' What If, which wrapped up on Disney Plus a few days ago. We're going to drop that spoiler ticker across the bottom because we're going to be speaking completely openly about each episode of What If season 2. And you've been warned. All right. So if you didn't check it out, come back and check us out another time. But we are going to get into all 9 episodes as there were 9 days of What If. And my overall thoughts quickly without any details, I really enjoyed the show this season of What If. I actually enjoyed it more than season 1. And that's not a knock on season 1, but I felt like there were certain things that they did differently in this season that I kind of enjoyed and dug. And Jason and I discussed briefly before we went on the air. But I kind of like the homages to certain things that they did throughout. And there were a couple. And there were a lot of clever winks and nods to the past MCU that I found very interesting. And I love the fact that they got a ton of the voice actors to come back for this. I felt like there was definitely more in this season. I mean, there's no Chris Evans. There's no RDJ. which I would love to get them back one day. But hey, there's some, and no Scarlett Johansson. But hey, two of those three do a pretty good job of imitating. They do good impressions.
Which one did you not enjoy?
So the new person that's Natasha Romanoff.
Okay, I'm with you.
No, I'm just saying is that
I'm with you. No, that's the same.
Yeah, I've accepted
She just doesn't
the
sound
fact,
like ScarJo.
Correct.
Exactly. And the thing is, though, but I knew it this time. Like in the first season, it kind of threw me off. But this season, I knew it was coming. She does her own thing, and I can respect that at this point. We're 2 seasons into it. She's taken over the role. It's just a voice, so I'm good with it. But the other two did. I mean, the Chris Evans replacement was fine. I think you had to really listen to really know.
He's not. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the RDJ guy. I mean, he was on point. I thought so.
I had to check the credits.
Yeah,
I thought he was so good. I thought it might actually be him.
Yeah. So whatever. Those are my overall thoughts on it. Jason, what did you think of the season overall?
So overall, I liked it. I actually did not like it as much as the first, which is not a knock on it. I thought the first, I enjoyed the first. For me, I like some episodes I really enjoyed. Some I was kind of lukewarm on. And I think the reason I didn't love the season is I think like because I actually read What Ifs as a comic,
Same.
And like why I was excited about What If was because it was like, all right, this is just going to be a fucking one-off every week. It's going to be one-off weird stuff, but like and then the first season I get they had the Watcher do stuff, and I'm like, okay, I was behind that. But now, like, if the Watcher's going to be involved, like, I didn't like the Watcher, like, and Peggy having chats and like the Watcher, like, where the hell did she go? And like, I didn't really care for the story arc of What If. What If, to me, is not supposed to have a story arc. It's supposed to be these weird one-offs that explore the alternate universes. And I think that the arc worked well in the first one. And I think they were trying to replicate it where they didn't have to and probably shouldn't have even tried. And because of that, I think at times it felt like the season should be called What If Peggy Carter Was Never Canceled? Because there's so much... like, she's just chilling with the Watcher. They're friends. He literally is like, I never go back twice, but Peggy's a fucking dame, man. Let's go check her out. What's she doing? She's a friend of mine. And like stuff like that I wasn't too crazy about, just because it goes against, to me, growing up, what reading What If was about. And what I like about the MCU stuff, as I've said before, is they kind of simulate like the comic book feel of a kid, of like, we gotta wait for the next episode, the crossover's coming. And for this, I was kind of like, I wasn't crazy about all of the scenarios, and it was too heavy on the arc for me to really love it. But having said that, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Rick?
This is the good part of being able to hear everybody's fully formed ideas. Jason makes it great. We chatted a little bit about What If. Some of the people that I communicate with that are comic book readers, they're not huge fans of the show because they wanted the old stories. They wanted What If Spider-Man, the cosmic powers, and what if this, and what if they wanted those. They wanted to see, they were like, hey, if you're going to give me 9 episodes of What If, can I please get the one where Spider-Man kept the cosmic powers? Can I please get the one where, and they would pick their favorite 9 and they would lose their minds to see it on the TV screen. And I'm here for that, However, when they created these shows, they were using the MCU because the MCU was what we were using, So it makes perfect sense. To me, I was like, hey, if you want those old issues, like, just go read the old issues. However, there's something that's totally lost in that. And it's what Jason said. It's the episodic nature. Like, this is just a self-contained What If. It doesn't need to fucking branch off to everything else and then come back to make, this full loop. Like, it just needs to be like a story. Like, what if we make this tiny difference? Is, the butterfly flaps its wing and Peter Parker doesn't get bit, like things like that. So with that said, I still love the shows, but I'm seeing these more conflicted views make a lot of sense to me. And I think it'd be really fun if they made a season that was just the old comic books, just to appease everyone, just for fan service. Why not? You're Disney. Like fucking Lucasfilm only does fan service. Like, so I would be in support of the third season just being the old issues, just so the old guys like me can just watch them and be happy about it, and them not be connected. And then feel free to bring back What If Peggy Carter Never Got Canceled.
I don't even mind that it's not the older stories. Like I like the idea that this is what if for the MCU. For me, it's not episodic, and because we only get 9, I don't feel that they chose the strongest moments to change, and as I was saying to Ed, some of these things aren't even what ifs. They're nothing. It's not like the happy one. That's not a what if in this movie something went different. It's just, hey, wouldn't it be fun if Happy Safe Christmas and a Die Hard parody? Huh? And for me, like
it really,
I like the to see what the change is, and then think about, would that make sense in the world? And you can't really do that with all of these because they aren't really changing anything.
Yeah, well, I'll save the comments on that until we go through episode by episode. But Jason, I don't disagree with what you're saying. When What If was announced years back, I thought we were going to get one-off episodes that were not connected, but I've assumed they were going to be MCU related. Maybe taking some comic book inspired stories, like there's a What If episode in season 1 that was Marvel Zombies, and it adapted that. But now they're doing a spin-off show called Marvel Zombies, which Kamala Khan is supposed to be the narrator for.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it is cool, and that was one of my favorite episodes of season 1 was the Marvel Zombies episode. So I think that was the one that a lot of people loved. So I guess they kind of did it with that episode in season 1, but I don't know. Yeah, the overarching thing, and I've seen some of the criticism on social media has been that this season picks up once it starts connecting the season, which I found interesting. But
yeah,
I feel like as much as I enjoyed just about every episode, I enjoyed the first handful, and they were the ones who were the least connected to the season. So
the first 2 are my favorites, or maybe we'll get into it. But I think like the earlier ones are my favorites.
Yeah, well, let's jump into it. All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
And I think the episode. Do they have the titles? No. Okay. I think because there's a season 3 that was already announced, and they dropped that clip right after the finale aired or was made available on Disney Plus. I don't know. They just don't know. I don't know when. I'm assuming we're getting it this year at some point because I think 2 and 3 were done around the same time. So all right. So episode 1 of season 2 was called "What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps." Now, basically, the short version is it starts off, Yondu gets murdered, and then Nebula is also recruited by, from Thanos and everything like that, and recruited by Nova Prime, joins the Nova Corps, and becomes, a cop, basically. And it's obviously an homage to Blade Runner, which I absolutely loved. I love this episode. I was all in on it. And seeing the cameos of Groot and, by the way, Korg in the episode he's in, Taika Waititi had me dying laughing.
Wait, he's actually doing the voice on those?
No, he is. Taika Waititi actually did the voice for Korg in this. And Seth Green is in this as Howard the Duck, which I know struck Jason's fancy perfectly.
It did, yeah. No, I'm a big Seth Green fan.
And Howard the Duck.
And Howard the I'm a Howard the Duck fan.
No, that's actually where I was going.
I loved it. Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant Seth Green. I thought I actually really liked this episode. I thought the fact that it's like a Blade Runner type like film noir. I love Karen Gillian. I think she knocks it out of the park with her voice acting in this. I think there's just there's a lot of good stuff going on here. I like the fact that it's a case, right? We're working a case, and much like every film noir, it blows up in your face at the end. Everyone's turned on you. Everyone's a suspect, and has been playing you. And at the end, she comes through. And I that this one and the Peter Quill one these are probably my two favorites.
Okay, Rick.
Just to stick with what Jason was saying with the detective side of things, like I feel like they did it so well this episode. I'd be willing to see a show where they really do something like that.
Really,
Me too.
Like a Nebula detective story, like in the Nova Corps. Even though by the end of it, I think she ends up taking over, and because she saves Xandar, and kind of frees them, because the whole idea is that.
Well, I mean, it doesn't need to be her per se.
Okay.
It can be like Disney can do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, by seeing the episode, you see that Disney can do it, or Marvel can do it, and that's just my interest. You could palette swap her for someone else, and I think it'd be a fun watch. I love things like that, and DC attempts to do it a lot more than Marvel, and I think that's that's something Marvel can step up in a little bit more.
Okay, but there was a lot of fun things in this episode that I really, really enjoyed. But all right, so the second episode was called "What If Peter Quill Attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes." Short concept here: Yondu basically did not, go ahead and decide to hold on to Peter Quill after he kidnapped it. He got him for Ego. He returns him to Ego in 1986, and then Ego goes ahead and teaches him the whole thing about the expansion and all the other stuff that he wanted to do, taking over the universe. And Quill goes back to Earth 2 years later in 1988, and is going to basically looks like he's going to wreck shop, and is encountered by basically everyone who's in the Pegasus program at that time, who we've seen throughout the MCU. We get Marvel in there as well. We get also Michael Douglas did return as Hank Pym, and we had mentioned.
I did notice that.
Yeah. OG Ant-Man was in this one too. We get T'Chaka as the Black Panther in this scenario as well. Russia lends them the Winter Soldier, so Bucky is there. To fill that role too, and Peggy Carter is there as the Captain America, essentially replacement that's there. And am I leaving anyone out? Besides, before we get to Hope Van Dyne? Yeah, and then Hope Van Dyne is also in this as well, and that's where we got the playlist, and she's bouncing around, listening to her playlist and things like that.
Oh,
because she's involved.
Thor shows up.
Yes, I'm sorry. Wow. Yes, Chris Hemsworth, of course, he's definitely back as Thor in this, so he's down with it too. And they confront Peter Quill, who looks like he's going to go ahead and destroy shit before Ego sees that Peter is getting turned and talked out of this crap. And then he shows up and they fight down and forms a 1988 Avengers, essentially, which I dug. I love the fact that we got 1988 Avengers. Oh, I'm sorry. And also Giant Man is in this Avengers team as well.
Oh, right.
Because Lawrence Fishburne
That's right.
is also back. Yeah, as Foster.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of fun with this one. What did you guys think?
Yeah. This one I think is my favorite, of them all. I think it's poorly named. I think because let's face it, Peter Quill doesn't fight the Avengers. It should be what if Yondu never returns Quill, or what if Yondu never keeps Quill? It should be clear what we're getting into. Because I went into this going, I don't care if Peter Quill fights the Avengers, and at the end I'm like, wow, that was really interesting. So I think branding wise, it could have been a better title, but I love this. I mean, it's a cool spin on bringing the 80s Avengers together, and then it's very clear they're a team at the end. That's the line that Pym keeps saying to to Thor, like, yeah, you missed it. Remember, we're a team. And at the end, it's clear they're going to go off and, like, be the ego defenders and go track down Ego on his planet and reverse all this. And like Rick said before, I'd watch. You put a show in that. You give me a cartoon based on the '80s Avengers in space. I'm in. I'd watch that.
Oh yeah, me too. Rick.
Yeah. Also, I have two favorite episodes this season. This was one of them. I loved it. Favorite part about it was Peter Quill the Kid, because recently I'd watched the Twilight Zone episode. I think it's called The Good Place to Live, and that's the one where the little kid like controls reality.
It's a good place,
and like
it's a good place.
It's a good place, right? So I was watching that when he turns the guy into a Jack in the Box and this and that, and he's creating animals, and the kid's just like wrecking shop in that episode. And the beginning of this kind of reminded me of that a little bit more than Brightburn because his powers are just stronger. And it was really cool to see his turn when he was like in Loki / the Hulk's cage, when he met Hope and they get to talk and you're like, dude, this is just a little kid. Like, it was a great break of character to like show you what's behind the curtain. That was my favorite part about this one.
And I really like that we still get the moment, which is the moment we get in Guardians 2 in the regular universe, where he's like, wait, you killed my mom? And then he like goes off on him, and that fuels him. Like, I'm glad like we get that moment, but we get it when he's a kid and he's got powers. And I think it gives it a new context. And again, I think that's when this show really works well, when it's like, oh, I remember what was supposed to happen. And it's cool that this is happening now, and I can see the parallels.
Dude.
Yeah, and there's an episode much later on that
line from Kurt Russell when he's like, "It killed me to put that tumor in her head."
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh God. Yeah.
Everybody wanted to punch Kurt Russell in the face.
And is this Kurt Russell voicing Ego, or is this just someone who's really good at sounding?
I think it's
like
him. Yeah.
No, it's Kurt Russell.
It is, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that Ego is one of my favorite villains of the MCU. I think Kurt Russell's Ego, like, pushed all of the nerd buttons in me when that happened, and so to get to see him young with the flowing hair was great.
Mm-hmm.
Young him would make a great leisure suit Beyonder.
Well, we are not going to let this
go. I agree. I agree.
Just say it. It could work.
By the way, he's crushing it in Monarch, Legacy of Monsters right now. As him and his son are playing the same.
Oh, really?
Same character at different points in time. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
All right, so that brings us to episode 3, which is what if Happy Hogan had saved Christmas. Now, this is basically an Avengers Tower, which is subbing in for Nakatomi Plaza, because this is an obvious ode to Die Hard that's going on here.
Yeah.
Happy is John McClane. We even get him an event going ahead and giving the whole line right there.
Yep.
Out to the coast, have a few laughs, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
There.
Go to the Christmas party. Relax.
Exactly. I loved it, and yes, I've spoken on Pop Culture Pros 1,000 times how much I adore Die Hard, and will still always stand by this being a Christmas movie. And the fact that this was the Christmas Eve episode of What If, and I was just kind of annoyed with myself for not watching it in day by day, because I binged this after our last episode. It struck all the right chords with me, and apparently Jon Favreau, upon asked being returned for this, wanted Happy to turn into the Freak, which is a version of the Hulk that was in there. It's a super deep cut in the comics, and that's what we get in here. And the writers were just like, "Oh, really? Let's go. We're gonna make it happen. Don't worry about it. We'll make this work somehow."
Right. I didn't know about that. That's cool.
Yes. So apparently Justin Hammer is infiltrating Avengers Tower, wanting to get Hulk blood, and he's the Hans Gruber of this whole thing. And getting Justin Hammer back, who I think is such an underrated MCU villain, I will stand by that forever. And it's Sam Rockwell. I also love Sam Rockwell as well. So getting him to come back too for this was fantastic. Kat Dennings is back as well in this episode. We get a lot of people. Jeremy Renner is back as well. Just about everyone except the main three that I had mentioned earlier are back in this. But listen, I liked it. I don't care. It wasn't a what if episode, but I really, really enjoyed this one. It wasn't. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was fun. I think there's some fun stuff, but it's not, as I said, it's not a what if episode, and we only get 9 of them. So that's kind of like, if we had 22, I'd be like, oh, this was a lot of fun. Who cares? But we only get 9.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy, here's what I enjoyed about the episode. I enjoyed Kat Dennings actually a lot, and the interaction between her and Happy, where she doesn't know anything about Die Hard until she's like, I'll be your Reginald Vell Johnson. And he's like, that's what you remember about the movie? That was fun. You know, it was fun to watch Happy run around as the Hulk. I thought that was cool. Like, again, it wasn't a bad episode. It just wasn't a what if episode, in my opinion. But my favorite part of, though, is at the end when Thor shows up, like, hey, Merry Christmas. Oh, I missed the party. Like, I don't know, that got
me. Rick?
Yeah. So I have to give I've never really seen Die Hard in its entirety. So
Rick, it was nice knowing you.
This episode kind of fell flat with me.
Wow.
Like, it showed me a bunch of memories that like probably other people have from watching these scenes and really enjoying them. And for me, it's like it falls flat for me. So the episode was cool. It's got a bunch of my favorite characters in it, but it's not a what if episode. And I've never really seen Die Hard. So yeah.
No,
like
but
all of the scenes that I'm sure you're like watching and like you're like, oh, that happened on the 32nd floor and blah. I don't know. It was just like watching an episode where Happy Hogan like gets a Hulk power and then he's fighting against Justin Hammer. And like, why is Happy Hogan fighting Justin Hammer? Iron Man's not even here.
And
I don't know. That's
Rick,
how it felt for me. It must be like somebody watching an MCU movie now and they're not kept up with the current universe. Like,
you just decide not to keep up with the actual universe.
I've never seen Die Hard.
That is bonkers to me.
It's one of a million movies I've never seen.
But I'm gonna defend Rick here, not in not seeing Die Hard, because you should change that, but because it's a great movie. But like, Rick Great makes a good point. This is a movie that is based on shared knowledge of the audience, an assumption that everyone in the audience has seen Die Hard, and so this will do something for them. But for people who haven't, and there are people who haven't, clearly, it falls flat. And I think that's the risk you take when you hinge your episode on a generation's nostalgia. I mean, it was still a fun episode, but Rick makes a good point. Would we have enjoyed it as much if we didn't get the Die Hard references? And I don't know. I think that Rick didn't. So I think that is an important thing to think about.
So what if we didn't see Blade Runner? Would we have?
I might have enjoyed that episode, but maybe not as much.
No, I know, but the thing is, I think this is like with Die Hard, to the point they even talk about it. In the first one, they make homages to Blade Runner, but you don't have to have prior knowledge of Blade Runner to appreciate what they're doing. Like, that story isn't Blade Runner. It's just the tone was Blade Runner, the feel was Blade Runner, the look of the characters and the narration, and they were doing like a sci-fi noir thing. Whereas What If Happy Save Christmas, literally they're like, hey guys, it's Die Hard. Hey Kat, we're in Die Hard. Yeah, we're in Die Hard. Like, they literally are having the conversation that this is Die Hard. So I think it's a bit different, because that first one it's an homage. It's not like you need to have seen this movie to get what we're doing here.
All right. I mean, that's fair enough, Rick. The fact that you haven't seen Die Hard is bonkers, especially that me and Tim and Angie took a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old to see it in the theater about a month ago, and they both adored it. Jax even said if it
I
came
wasn't
out,
in New York a month ago.
I understand that, but I do think Die Hard might be available in Florida somewhere.
Look, I'm sure it's good.
It's possible. I mean, it is arguably the greatest Christmas movie. at the same time as being arguably no, it is definitely it very well could be the greatest action movie ever made.
Dude, you're talking about films such as Santa with Muscles.
Exactly.
Like-
Exactly. I absolutely am.
and Jack Frost, not the Michael Keaton one.
Yes, these were both
No, the
discussed
good one.
on the
The good
Christmas
one.
episode of Pop Culture Pros, where I actually showed the audience the trailer for Jack Frost.
The hidden carrot trick.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, the whole Shannon Elizabeth, all of that crap. Yes, I showed it. So check that episode out if you
Classic.
have not seen it. And there is a sequel too, which is nuts in its own right. Okay. So moving on, episode 4. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? I enjoyed the shit out of this episode too. I thought it was fun. It was basically at the end of Avengers when Tony is going to throw the missile out of pretty much into space. It goes ahead and he doesn't go back, and he ends up going to Sakaar at that point in time. And essentially Gamora is sent there also to track Tony down by Thanos, because she's still daughter of Thanos at that time. This all happens on Sakaar, and there's a lot of shit that goes down there that is kind of mostly Thor Ragnarok, essentially, but with Tony Stark in there. Jeff Goldblum coming back to voice the Grand Master again was phenomenal, because Jeff Goldblum was always there.
Always the best.
His name for Tony being Mr. Metal Mojo Man cracked me up.
Mr.
every
Metal
single
Mojo
time.
Man. Yeah.
Yes. There's a
May I
reference
call
in
you
here.
Mojo?
There's a reference in here to one of the relaunches of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, where Tony and Gamora hook up in the comic. And they mentioned something.
Oh, okay,
There's
yeah.
a line drop in here where like, oh, you guys seem like you have a shared history and things like that, and yada yada. And I'm like, okay, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And Korg steals
Although
this episode.
really creepy with really I was gonna say really creepy with Korg. Well, why'd you put him in here? There's no one here. I'm just a pile of rocks. Just sitting here doing nothing. Like
And there's another line that Korg has where Tony, like, he's talking to Tony and he's like, yeah, the Grandmaster's not all that bad. He's like, well, you know, he did use me one time as a paperweight
yeah.
against my arch nemesis Paper. Yep. No, something he is actually pretty bad. Man. that was not nice.
I wish I wouldn't have voted for him, or I shouldn't have voted for him the last time. Like,
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
denoting the fact that the Grandmaster is in fact an elected official, and everyone just keeps voting for him despite the fact that he's garbage.
This also turns into like Tony goes through this thing where it's kind of like a nod to the original Iron Man, where he's building his own suit on Sakaar and stuff like that. And we find that it fucking transforms into an actual car, because there's a car race at the end of this that is very Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome / Mario Kart situation that's going on here.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of nuts.
I was gonna say, see, meets Wacky Races from Hanna-Barbera, because like the Grandmaster has all of these tricks and shit.
Uh-huh. And he's going on about his birthday again, like he did in Ragnarok as well. And then the melty glow stick plays a huge role in this, where it ends up melting him eventually. And he's going on about how it feels good and stuff like that.
Oh,
Doesn't he start off with the Wizard of Oz? In the I'm melting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the only one that has like a mid-credit scene. There is a mid-credit scene that pops up after this episode.
I missed that because none of them had them. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it pops up a little bit into the credits. This is more, it's a follow-up on him being melted and stuff like that. So
It's a great episode.
Yeah,
It's got everybody's like cleverest wordsmith characters. These guys, just to hear them banter is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, between Tony and Korg and stuff like that.
And the Grandmaster too. It's just these are some of my favorite characters to hear speak. Like,
yeah,
it's a good one.
it was a hell of a lot of fun. And then Gamora gets turned into a hero by the end of this and stuff like that. And they end up fucking glow sticking Thanos. This is one of the many times Apparently, he fucking dies all the time in this season. He is Wonder Man in this season.
Love it. But I actually think this is one of
I told you can't just
three.
snap the universe away and think it's okay.
Yes.
No.
Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
Consequences. No. This I think is top 3. It's the first 2 in this one. For me, really, like if I were to point to when this show really works, it's these 3 episodes. Because again, we've taken a point in the MCU, and this isn't. I mean, really, and I get why they titled it. It's a much better title the way they titled it. But really, this is what if Tony never makes it home after Avengers, right? Because it's a whole thing. He doesn't make it through the gateway, and instead of dying in space, what happens to Thor in Ragnarok happens to him, and he winds up in Sakaar, and that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense to me that Gamora would turn on Thanos because, as we know from Guardians 1, she really is just looking for someone to believe in her to be a bit better, right? Which is why she connects with Quill, because he does. And so in this reality, it's Tony Stark. Like, and again, like everything is the same. It just the logic follows these changes, right? That one change, as Rick said, butterfly affects everything. And I think this one really shows like what a what if can be, because we get to play in the world of Ragnarok, but it's with Tony Stark. And that's what a what if is. It's like, well, what if Tony Stark in Ragnarok? Wouldn't that be funny? And it is.
Absolutely.
All right, so then that takes us to episode 5. What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? So pretty much she's going ahead and she goes and tries to, she wants to, they discover that Steve Rogers is still alive. And this is very much a twist on Captain America Winter Soldier, right? Like this one, there's a lot of, Captain Carter doing the Captain America stuff that's in there. She even has like the stealth suit, and she goes on the ship with Black Widow as Steve did in Captain America Winter Soldier. But they stumble upon the Hydra Stomper, and Steve Rogers was still in there and was kept alive by the Red Room. So there's a lot of twists that are going on there in this. And Steve Rogers basically has this whole beard and skinny Steve Rogers stuck in the suit, but it preserved him. And apparently he's been a weapon. He's been kind of weaponized by the Red Room, sort of how Bucky was weaponized by Hydra. And that's pretty much the overall gist of the episode here. I mean, we get a lot of cool shit in this episode, and one of my favorite things that was in this is that we get a Winter Soldier versus Black Widow in this, which was a freaking dynamite fight in here.
Yeah, no, I agree. The action in this is very good. That is a great fight. I appreciated seeing Senator Bucky Barnes, like what Bucky would be doing if he wasn't Winter Soldier. But I'm going to say that this movie makes a case for the fan theories, which I've never paid attention to, that Steve Rogers is romantically in love with Bucky Barnes. And the reason I feel that way is because if we're talking about coding, right? How characters are coded. In the Winter Soldier is Bucky Barnes, and Captain America is Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America, right? In this, Peggy Carter is Captain America, and Steve Rogers is the Winter Soldier, and she's pining over him so much. I'm like, oh, it's me and it's Steve, and I got to get Steve back, and pretty much everything Steve says about Bucky Barnes in Winter Soldier. And I'm like, well, yeah, no, I actually can see how this is coded as a gay relationship. Like, I'm not saying they're saying it is, but I can see why people think it is, especially when you give me the what if, and it's a romantic thing, like between Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Not that much of a stretch for to make that leap after that.
Yeah, because Bucky is pretty much in this. He's the Robert Redford character, but not like he's not running the Red Room or anything like that. Because he has that scene where he's talking to all the world leaders and stuff like that too. So we do get a lot of that. I did just enjoy all the play on Winter Soldier, throughout. Rick?
Yeah. For me, this episode needed to be longer. I love the Captain Carter saga. I love the Winter Soldier side of it. I love Captain America. You know, I love all the characters involved, and I feel like they rushed through the story. I feel like it could have been more developed. Like maybe this one could have been 45 minutes. You know, I feel like Steve. We didn't get enough Steve in it. You know, they didn't provide us enough him to care. Like the only reason we cared is because Peggy cared. You know, we didn't care because we liked him. You know, so I just feel like this one could have been a bit longer. I love the story, but I feel like the episode could have been more developed to really hammer one home here. And I really enjoy the way it ended. Like that's
I was gonna get to the ending because that doesn't get really paid off until episode 8. But at the end of this, apparently Scarlet Witch goes ahead and recruits Captain Carter into this, and like they needs her help and stuff like that. And that the next 2 episodes don't really reference it until we get there. But all right, so the next episode,
but it is the episode. It is the episode though where the Watcher's like, "What the fuck?" Like he doesn't say that, but like someone says, "Where did she go?" And the Watcher's like, "I don't know.
I actually don't know."
That's a weird moment.
All right, so that takes us to episode 6, which is what if Kiora reshaped the world. So the gist of it is that Asgard was taken down and everything, and then the Tesseract goes ahead and goes to Earth and ends up landing and creating this whole lake here, and it's another world that's there, and there's a bunch of it surrounds basically the Mohawk, and they go ahead and they go to this the Sky World, as they refer to it throughout the episode, and it's the Tesseract is super powering a bunch of these Mohawk that go through this forbidden lake or this cursed lake, and they are hunted down by these conquistadors that are there, and they end up having an entire battle there. And Kiora is a character that was created just for this show, and there was a lot of the Mohawk that were brought in to work together with Marvel Studios, with the writers and everything, on creating this episode, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, same. I like the concept a lot. Again, I think it's a poor title just because I had to look up, like, am I supposed to know who Kaori is? And I wasn't, because she was created for this. So to put her in the title, like, this really should have been, what if the Tesseract came to Earth early or something like that? I like the conceit that, like, no, Ragnarok actually happens and then it comes. I like the fact that it was in the language. I thought that was really a respectful way to do it. I like the fact that Tesseract pretty much becomes the legend of the pool of eternal youth or whatever that the Spanish were looking for at the time. So I thought that was interesting. That was cool. But like again, like I don't know any of these characters, and I only get 9 of these. And so, like, I liked the episode. It was fine, but I didn't love it because, again, I love what it's doing. I love that it's, being really authentic, bringing native voices in there. I love all of that. I just wish there was something to ground me in, like, a character, something that I knew, because this was all, like, this is a character I don't know, in a language I don't speak, going through things, and I'm like, it's interesting, but again, I only get 9 of these, and why do I have to have a what if that doesn't have any repercussions? And like, this doesn't have to be the MCU. This literally could have just been from the comic, and that's fine. But again, I think I'd be a bit less harsh if we had like 20 of these, and it didn't matter. You can play around, but you only give me 9, and 3 of them have to serve your overall story arc. So that's why I liked it. I'm glad they did it, but it was probably my least favorite just for the reasons I said.
Yeah, I think 90% of the episode, I was actually saying, yeah, this is kind of cool. I also get slightly... I don't love things with subtitles, put it that way. I never have. It's one of the reasons I'm skipping Godzilla -1. As cool as it looks, I don't want to read for 2 hours and stuff. I'll read a book if that's what we're doing. But this, for the 20-something minutes, I was okay with it. But I just kept wondering, what does this have to do with anything that we're doing here? Until
And
the
that's-
ending, where Supreme Strange shows up to recruit Kiora, and that's really it. Like, there is
No, but
nothing
I mean
else this has to do with it.
and that's what I mean. Like, this is an episode that just serves the story arc of what I expected to be, what it is in the comic, an episodic thing. And so, like, when you create a character and a story just to serve this story arc that I don't want in the first place, it's not my favorite thing. But again, I think it's more to do with it has nothing to do with like what the episode's about. It's just like, it's not what I came here for, I guess.
Yeah. Rick?
Yeah, kind of with Jason, probably my least favorite episode of the bunch. Has nothing to do with anything, really. It was kind of a way to shoehorn a new character into the series. I do like that it spotlights a different type of character we haven't encountered before. I do like the language thing. I thought it was all right. Unlike Eddie, I watch everything with the captions on. So if you ever come to my house, prepare yourself. I will watch sports with the captions on.
I do
So
this. I block the bottom of the screen.
because I hate missing what somebody said. So, so subtitled things don't really bother me. But I don't know. This episode was just kind of weird to me. They fall into the Tesseract and then they like live in this trapped heaven. Like, is that even a good thing? I don't know. It just like, it was just kind of a weird episode that wasn't necessarily what I tuned in for. It wasn't really a what if.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we create a new character?
Yeah.
that's what it should have been named.
Right.
And then another overpowered character, because we didn't learn our lesson from fucking what was it with the Skrulls recently? Invasion.
Oh yeah,
like
With Ms. Marvel.
comes to me.
yeah,
Captain
like we
Marvel.
haven't learned our lessons with creating overpowered characters. So I don't know.
Gaia.
Well,
Gaia.
it was
Gaia, yeah.
it was an episode. It was an episode that introduced a new character who was kind of cool. I like her actually way more in the future episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't
Yes,
hate the character.
agreed.
I just don't enjoy the episode.
No,
And then the fact that it was the Spanish and the Mohawk, like I told you guys earlier, I'm not sure the Spanish made it to New York. So I don't think that they were fighting the Mohawks. But I could be wrong. Somebody prove me wrong in the comments or in something.
Now that brings us to episode 7, which is very, very much a what if, and I thought this may have been one of the most what if episodes of the entire season. It's what if Hela found the 10 rings. Now, one of my favorite things I had mentioned earlier with this season is they do spins on certain things, and this starts off as kind of like if Hela was in the story from Thor and took Thor's place, right? Like where Odin is here, can't quench her thirst for everything, strips off her power and takes her helmet and everything, crushes Mjolnir, because she had Mjolnir, remember, originally, crushes that, so we see that moment from Ragnarok, and then takes her helmet off, does the whole whisper thing, if she understands the value of life, then she can have, she can be the goddess of death, and once she's worthy, she can have the power of Hela, sends it to Earth, but at a different point in time, and sends her to Earth, separated, but she ends up running into the fucking Mandarin. And there's that whole thing that goes down. Mandarin has the 10 rings. She encounters there. She has the whole thing. It's in the rain. We see a lot of the visuals from the first Thor movie, and there's a lot of plays on the first Thor movie throughout this. And yeah, then Hela kind of like goes along and gets whole things. She becomes worthy by the end of the episode. She ends up becoming like a super powered version of herself. And that's kind of what we get. And there's like this sort of quasi-romantic love interest that the Mandarin has with her, because he never really meets his wife then. So I found that to be very interesting as well. So what did you guys think of this? I really enjoyed this one. This is one of my favorite episodes of the season.
I think personally, Hela's one of my favorite characters. I enjoyed her in the movie. I enjoy her in the cartoon even more. I love the way they write her. I love the voice acting on her. I like that
Kate Blanchett is back.
She rides a wolf. Like, that's badass. I don't know. There's just a lot of cool elements of her. And then to see, because what we really know is Thor and Loki. Thor and Loki, they're gods, and, they're flawed. And now to see another god and then see her, like, not just be a god, but transcend to another type of god. Her face turn was fucking awesome in this. This was probably Landon's my fourth favorite behind those earlier ones we spoke about, but I really liked this episode. I like the character.
Jason?
Yeah, I would say the same. It's probably my fourth favorite. I think it's I like the character of Hela, and I like that we get to see Hela go through the same character arc Thor does in Thor, but it's Hela. And it does, like, and because it's Hela, it plays out so differently. I really like that. I like that, she kind of does learn the lesson. She does. Odin was right. Odin tempers her. I like that. And I like Kate Blanchett's great. I love when she first comes to Earth and she's like, all right, you can bow to me now. I'm the queen of death or whatever. And then she doesn't have her powers and she's like,
yeah, she does the whole thing, and she's like, well, that usually gets a much different reaction, and nobody gives a shit.
I thought that was great. So I'm with you guys. This again is when the show really works. Again, you take a moment, you change it, and you give us something a bit familiar, but you play with that, right? The familiarity is this is Thor's story, but we get to see what if Hela goes through Thor's story. And it's really interesting because it's a character study. And I love the MCU Mandarin. Absolutely love the MCU Mandarin. I wish they could do more with him, but.
And two other things I wanted to mention is we also get a Hela and Mandarin teaming up against Odin at the end of this in a fucking battle, which I thought was super badass as well. And also Hela kind of goes through the arc of Thor from the original movie, but also goes through some of the arc of Shang-Chi as well. Because she gets the dragon armor, the scale armor, and things like that too. So she kind of sort of goes through both of their arcs, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
And I end up saying her name at least 10 times a day. Because I have my first daughter's named Helen and my second one is named Ella. So I definitely yell Hela all the time.
All right, and then episode 8 is one that seems to be also getting a lot of rave reviews. The last 4 episodes of the season are top rated on IMDb because that's the one I'm using. That's the site I'm using right now to get the titles. What if the Avengers assembled in 1602? So this one picks up where Scarlet Witch recruited Captain Carter back to. Apparently, we find out she takes her to 1602 in a different reality because there are realities that are going to pretty much merge. And she's there to save another reality that seems to be doomed for extinction. But she runs into Steve Rogers, who's Infinity War Steve Rogers, who apparently went ahead and was brought to this time from the moment when he fights Thanos in Infinity War and hits the time stone with his shield and ends up throwing him and activates it and throws him into this time, which I totally did not see coming whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Happy Hogan's there, and Thor is there, and then Hela, kind of like ends up getting killed in the beginning of the episode. Not the one that we just saw, but like another one that's there. And Thor ends up taking over and blames Captain Carter for the death of this. And it's kind of sort of like a Robin Hood type thing that's going on here as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. And one of my favorite moments in this whole series is when they do find out that Steve Rogers is the damn it, I didn't write down the name of it.
Oh, he's the one that doesn't belong there.
Yeah, he's the one that doesn't belong there. It's like glowing in green and stuff. And there's a callback to Endgame because it's pretty much, well, number one, someone asks Peggy Carter, Captain Carter, about explaining, her whole thing. And she's like, no, I don't think I will. And nod back to Steve Rogers in the end of Endgame. And also there's another thing out there where he's going to disappear. And there's an asking of, oh, are we ever going to get our happy ending? And I think it's Steve that says, yes, I think there's somewhere out there we do get our happy ending, referring to the MCU when they get their happy ending in Endgame. I thought that moment hit the hardest, in this whole episode. But overall, pretty wonky, crazy episode. Paul Rudd is back as Scott Lang in this, which I just loved seeing him back, and Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Renner is back again and everything. So a lot of fun here. What did you guys think?
I was all about the Robin Hood element. That was probably my favorite part of the episode, is the Robin Hood element to it. It was a ton of action, running back and forth, ton of fighting. Captain Carter, always a favorite of mine. What I found really weird, though, was how mishmashy it was. Like, why was Happy Hogan, I guess, the freak in this episode?
Yeah, because I don't remember him being. I guess we're gonna assume that he was taken out of episode 3 and thrown into this.
Yeah, I guess so.
It. Yeah,
I guess so. That was my only thing about it. The small elements of it gave me flashbacks to the She-Hulk, like when Captain Carter was talking to the Watcher. One of the things that Jason doesn't like.
I didn't like that.
When she's talking to him, and then when there's a character there that doesn't really belong there. So I love the storyline between the captain and the captain. That I like that about this episode a lot. But the randomness of it, like, it's not always fun when you're being random. And you don't always need to fucking be funny. Like, how about you just tell the story sometimes? If they just told the story and they tried to be less funny, this would probably be my second favorite episode.
Okay, fair enough. Jason?
Yeah, I like this episode, but again, like I'm not a big like story arc person for this show, as I've said 20 times now this episode. And this is like part of the culminating story arc, right? So that was a ding against it. I didn't love I don't love that the Watchers treating Captain Carter like he does Reed Richards in the comic book. But it's different because he only treats Reed Richards like that in Fantastic Four comics. But in What If, he doesn't give a shit, right? Reed Richards, who I'm watching other realities. And so I didn't really love that interplay. I kind of want my Watcher silent in the background, narrating, having nothing to do with the action, not interacting with characters, being the Watcher. I think also I love the look of this, but I think what hurt me was that I actually did read the comic book Avengers or X-Men or whatever. Or Marvel. No, it's Marvel 1692.
1602. Yeah, they do adapt it. This wasn't an adaptation.
Yeah. And I think I read that and really liked it. And that's like an Elseworlds. That's not even a What If. That's just, hey, we're gonna have some fun. Mm-hmm. And so like I guess I probably expected more than this could have given to me, because it's only 22 minutes and it has to serve the story arc. So I mean, obviously I didn't love it, but I did like it. I thought it was good. I love the Scarlet Witch. I love the whole like fish out of water, like we're just pulling people out of the universe. And I like the fact that at the end it's like, no, they're going to die. There's nothing you can do. And Carter's like, I got to try. And so there are things I like about it, but ultimately I don't love it as much as the people on IMDb do.
Yeah. Well, can
I point out one thing that I did have in my notes, though? Mm-hmm. One huge silver lining about this episode to me is I would love to see, because it always happened in the comics in the 60s, the Hulk versus the Avengers or Thor versus the Avengers. I would love to see one of them as a villain in something, because they're both very scary, intimidating villains. Like Thor as the bad guy here, as the king, like demanding things and then starting to whoop ass. He's a formidable opponent, just like the Hulk. Like you can't stop the Hulk. Yeah. So I would like to see, as you bring up every now and then, like Raging Hulk. But I want like bad guy Raging Hulk. I want a Hulk that doesn't fucking understand what's going on. I'd like to see it at some point, just because we've seen it so much in the past,
Yeah, I can see that. Well, hopefully in season 3, we kind of get something like that. All right, so then the finale was what if Strange Supreme intervened? So at the end of the 1602 episode, Doctor Strange goes ahead and he's recruiting as well. He shows up and he finds out that he ends up getting Captain Carter and bringing her down, saying he needs some help here, and it's painting Kiora as the villain there, and says that he needs help. But then we find out the twist is that Strange Supreme or Supreme Strange, seems like things keep on twisting this thing around, whatever we want to call him, but I think Supreme Strange sounds a little bit better. He wants to rebuild his world, basically. So that whole thing about he feels guilty about it, and that's his goal here. And he wants to go ahead and I believe he wants to take Kiora's powers here. And shit goes fucking crazy where we get a Killmonger here who ends up with the Infinity Suit at one point, but Thanos has it before that. He gets murdered again. The second time he gets murdered in his season. And then the Killmonger, which I thought would get a standing ovation from whenever Rick was watching this, appeared again. So he actually gets Killmonger back twice now in the MCU since he died.
And he didn't die. He was just transferred to another room.
Exactly.
That's
he wasn't
true.
exactly murdered in this. But we find out what's going on. Captain Carter teams up with Kiora. They fight, but then Captain Carter gets a bunch of powers that we've seen throughout the season. She ends up getting, Hela's helmet and stuff like that. What the hell else does she get in here? There's also a sword she gets as well.
Well, yeah. What was that green sword? It was like a Hulk-looking character with that crazy sword.
I don't know. It's losing me, but she gets a bunch of abilities all torn into one. And I saw people on social media making the comparison to Secret Invasion finale, which I don't see at all because this is obviously temporary, and she gets it. It's not making her an overpowered being throughout the MCU like the issues we had there. And they take down Strange Supreme ultimately, and that's that. A lot of action in this. What did you guys think?
So I wasn't crazy about it for the reasons I keep saying. Like, I think there's interesting stuff they could have done with a what if, but this isn't a what if. This is, hey, Supreme Strange is cool. People like him. Let's throw him in there as the villain and make it look like he's the good guy. And the Captain Carter, I like Captain Carter. I want to say this. I like Peggy Carter. I never saw the show, but I've always liked the actress. I like the character. I loved what they did with her in season 1. I thought it was just enough of what if of Peggy Carter. But this is the Peggy Carter season. This is, again, what if Peggy Carter never got canceled? Because she's literally the star of this episodic alternate timeline that's supposed to be one-off. And this is the culmination of that. Like, she literally pulls together everything from all the episodes and defeats the big bad. And I didn't like that. Because, again, it's not a what if. It doesn't feel like a what if to me. I think there is some stuff here. I think like the actual premise, what if Supreme Strange intervened, I think is a great premise, because the whole thing is the Watcher watches and never intervenes. And so the whole idea of, well, what if you had a being that did intervene? But that's just service of to make him the villain. That doesn't really go anywhere. So I thought that was wasted. This very easily could have been what if Supreme Strange had intercepted America Chavez instead of regular Strange, which probably would have been.
And then you didn't even need to create Kahori or whatever her name is.
Exactly. You have a person who's actually in the movies, and you're actually giving us all right, let's change something. But what's changed here? This is we're just cruising around the multiverse like we own stock in it, like we own property in it. And this is not what I like. What I like about What If is the let's explore the other side nature. And this episode doesn't explore the other side of anything. It's like, what if we brought back the villain of the first one, or a villain in the first one, to show that he's still a villain after he was a hero. And it's like, okay, but like you did this already. Like, why give me something new? I don't need to see Peggy Carter and Supreme Strange again. I saw this last time. And so I got a bunch of issues with this episode. I didn't really like it.
Okay. Rick?
I like this episode. I get everything Jason's saying, and he's right with everything that he's saying. So I don't always love giant like monster fights. Like the end of 10 Rings, I wanted to like punch myself in the face. Like it was just too much going on. But here, I actually really enjoyed it, and you could see the George Lucas influence. Like it's like a poem; it repeats itself. The first season of What If is basically the villain becoming overpowered, and then taking on the MCU good guys. Basically everything was put together for Ultron to take over. Mm-hmm. And in this series, everything was put together for Captain Carter to take over. And I thought that was a cool like change of fates there from season 1 to season 2. Again, I'm a stan for Captain Carter, so anything she's in, I really enjoy it. And what's weird is I didn't love the Peggy Carter show. I finally made my way through it, and it was pretty cool, but I would never watch it again. But Captain Carter in these What Ifs, I really love this character. So I had a lot of fun with it. And then the scene where she releases all of the destroyers, and then like I kept pausing just to see who was in the background. I thought that was a lot of fun. I love that, I hate to call it a Spider-Man thing because it's not. Because different artists are very famous for making those giant splash pages of like 50 superheroes in it. And so when I get those scenes, they just bring me back to those pages where like, it's like all of the Avengers like jumping at you at one time. Mm-hmm. And that's nostalgic and it's fun for me. And I like to pause and try to find every character. And whoever I don't know, I like to, try to look them up who they are. Great to see my boy come back. Anything with Killmonger, I'm always for it. I'm ready for him to get back into the mainstream MCU and just be the Black Panther moving forward. Sure, it could be something else. But no, I had a lot of fun with the episode. It was, I think the story was fun. I really enjoyed the action. And again, seeing all of the characters, it's fun. It's fun. I like to pause it and just take a minute to smell the flowers on some of those scenes.
Well, one of the world destroyers that you had mentioned that were being gathered up by Strange Supreme was the zombie Wanda Maximoff that we saw in season 1. Mm-hmm. And that was crazy. When she had her whole fucking zombie army and they were like,
that was cool. I give that.
Yeah, because there's an all-out battle was probably that part of it, what I thought was the best part of the episode for me. Personally, not even like the end battle. Just that whole thing with seeing, like you mentioned, seeing all the crazy characters that were fighting each other and shit like that. That was pretty awesome. But I also don't disagree with what Jason's points are either. Like I fully agree with all of them. I enjoyed the episode for what it was because I think I just kind of accepted. I knew that it was getting tied together. But yes, from a What If purist standpoint, then I can see where which is fine. And I love What If. All three of us have collected What If comics when we were younger and we were collecting. I might even still have a few in my collection.
Oh, I still have all of mine. I still have What If Loki got the hammer? What if the X-Men never left Asgard? What if Vision took over the world? What if the Punisher's family never died? I still got all the ones from when I was a kid.
I'm pretty sure I have the Cosmic Spider-Man one. I'm pretty sure I held on to that.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And the one I want to read is the What If Peter Parker became the Punisher. That's one of the newer ones.
Ooh, yeah, I would like to read that one too.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool one.
But let's not overlook I Am Asgard's Doom, because his appearance towards the end of it. I love that character. He needs to exist more. I mean, there's nowhere really to fit him in, but what's it, Sartan? Something like that.
Surtur?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I believe that was his name. Something like that. Yeah, there's no place for him in the.
There's no place for him, but he's
he's
cool
done
guy.
already.
It's a shame.
Yeah, no, he is a cool guy.
Shame.
But I guess to wrap this up, I dug it, but I also don't disagree with Jason's points at all throughout the season, and I'm curious to see where season 3 takes it. I know that they had mentioned that the head writer and writing team of the first 2 seasons is leaving the series. They didn't do season 3, so
okay,
we might be getting a different direction in season 3. I'm kind of because the slate is kind of clean for where it is, and then I know others were wondering if we're going to see Kiara in the live action. The actress who does the voice work for her plays a totally different character in Echo, which we will be discussing next week.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I know she's expressed interest in wanting to do it. She's waiting, ready to go. If they want to bring her into live action, maybe in Secret Wars or something like that, we might get something there. And I would like to see Captain Carter in Secret Wars, honestly. I think I've enjoyed this character a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got her briefly in a version, at least, in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but we saw that one, literally cut in half by her own shield. So there is that. Yeah, she is.
She, in fact, could not do that all day. That was proven.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's some opportunities there. But then there's also one of the issues that, or, I guess potential issues that we've discussed on here, about the MCU 2024 kind of being somewhat of a reset for the live action MCU, because we're getting a shitload of animated stuff this year. We got Echo live action, we got Deadpool 3 coming, and there's a lot of, we get X-Men 97 coming. But I'm curious to know, though, because some of the things people are saying is that, like, there are people who are intimidated by characters that were introduced in Disney Plus shows appearing or being like on the billing for the movies now. So I do wonder if Captain Carter would be, I don't know, because they feel like, hey, I don't know who Kamala Khan was. I didn't know who, Photon was, like in Marvels. They were just trying to dissect what potentially some of the issues were. Some of them. There's a list of things that I think it was a perfect storm lately that has kind of led to 2023 not being the greatest for Marvel Studios, but we've all discussed this previously. We do feel that there will be this right now and this point in time is an opportunity to reset and to get things going now for a multitude of reasons, and one of them being that they're not going to be in theaters a lot. It's only going to be one movie. So for those with the superhero fatigue, you can check that box and say you kind of get it. You can get your reset now, right? There's not a lot of live action shows to watch this year because there's pretty much only Echo. So you can't say that. So they're going to sort of quasi.
And you're getting all that in one day.
Yeah, you're getting all that next week. So a lot of it's out of the way. So you can't use any of these excuses. So you can kind of 2025 can be a year where you reestablish yourself. We'll see where it goes. We'll be here one way or the other, so we're not really in this thing. But
I don't get a break from this
year.
Fatigue.
What does the beginning of the year look like for films? Because isn't Joker 2 beginning of the year also?
No, the only movies that we have coming up this year is, and we can just switch this thing because we are no longer talking about whatever. The only things we're looking at, if you look at the slate, theatrical, Jason's really excited for next month when we get Madam Web. But besides that, no, the only MCU movie coming out is the untitled Deadpool 3. The only DC movie we're getting is the Joker sequel, which that's later in the year as well. And Deadpool 3 is in July. And there's 3 Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse Sony movies that are coming out with Madam Web in next month. And then I forgot even what point, there's Kraven the Hunter. And then the untitled Venom 3 is coming out in the fall. So
I think you're going to be surprised by Madam Web. I'm telling you.
So you're saying you think it might be better than Morbius?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be saying.
I think there's a chance that it's not trash.
So you're saying there's a
think that-
chance.
I'm saying there's a chance. I've seen the uniforms.
Wow,
The guy looks like Night Monkey. It's I don't know, man. And Madam Web is not an old lady in a wheelchair, at least not until the end of the movie. So,
do you think she'll have like the whole chair and everything like that, and she'll be like a partial spider and whatnot?
yes. I mean, that's better than the Spider-Man play where Spider-Man has to actually marry a spider.
Yeah, Rick was telling me some weird shit about that Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark that apparently he's gone down that rabbit hole for.
Yes, I've been watching synopsis of it, and it is fucking terrible. We need to have somebody on the show that saw it.
Jason, you didn't see that, right? And Jason's frozen. I think the
Jason's
Watcher
caught up
came
in
and got
Matrix right now.
the Watcher came and got him.
He got blipped.
All right, I'm gonna give him a second to reboot himself over there. Yeah, I don't know. Like I told you,
You don't think it's gonna be good? I mean, you're gonna watch it. You're gonna watch it.
I'm going to watch it. I mean, if I can, I'm available. I will be there the Thursday night, so I can see it ahead of any kind of predetermined thing. My guess is that the review embargo will not be lifted until that day, which is always a bad sign for any studio when the review embargo is held off as long as humanly possible. You could almost bet the rent that the movie's going to suck then. That's going to be our first thing. If the review embargo is lifted like a week early or 2 weeks early, that means Sony has confidence in this thing. And they're going to be like, fuck it. We're going to go ahead and you guys can say what you're going to say about it. Jason, the Watcher has brought you back. We're talking about Madam Web still.
Oh, yeah. So Rick, what you're saying is I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to be saying things like, wow, I expected it to be better, but that was worse than watching paint dry. Because that's really the only unexpected thing that could happen is it's worse than I expect.
Wow. So the three of us can agree that our bar is super, super fucking low for Madam Web. So there might be a better chance that we might find some sort of entertainment value for this.
Yes. That's how I'm walking into this. I'm walking into it. I watched Venom 1 and 2 in the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this really going to be worse than Venom 1 or 2?
I mean, Morbius was.
I'm going to guarantee that I like Venom 2 better than Madam Web. I'm going to guarantee that because Venom 2 has something Madam Web does not. And that is Woody Harrelson reprising his role from Natural Born Killers, which is one of my favorite Woody Harrelson roles. Venom 2 might be my favorite Sony movie.
Wow.
Like of the Spider-Man-less Spider-Man.
Yes. No,
I'm not talking like real Spider-Man.
No,
stuff.
you would never dare say that. I know you wouldn't.
The first half
Spider-Man
of
3
Morbius is
better than
not
the
that
Spider-Man
bad.
stuff.
The first half is not that bad. It's once they get into the story, they really lose me.
That's Rick, I'm going to say that's never a good sign.
When they're introducing me to stuff, I'm with them. But once I actually get into the story, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
It's a problem.
When I actually try to pay attention and listen to the dialogue, the movie lost me. I'm sorry.
It's like a pretty girl. You're talking to her. The more you talk, the more you're like, ah. That's how I describe
Just
Morbius.
be a bit smarter so I can justify this to myself, please.
That's Morbius to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, as the movie gets closer, I'm sure we're going to hope and pray that some of these trailers, because they're going to release another trailer or two before it comes out. And I'm going to hope that they sell the movie a little bit better than they have, because that first trailer is not what you want. Outside of the Spider-Girl and Spider-Woman costumes, that shit was cool, and that was pretty much the only thing I had positive to say about that. And it was some sort of weird Terminator type thing going on. If they're trying to protect Uncle Ben from Ezekiel killing him, I hope that's it. Honestly, I really do hope, because that's just batshit crazy.
Doesn't that create like an incursion?
Listen, it gives me
Don't
something.
you, Uncle Ben.
It gives me something to go on for. Right? Like, come on. If we find out that he's Ben Parker in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, a light bulb is not going to go off on the top of your head, but it's going to be like an orange light bulb or something, not like a regular light one. It's like, you know something? Here's something. Where the fuck is this thing going to go? No?
I don't know.
It
might be the best film of 2020.
Rick, stop. Please stop. Deadpool is coming out. I will go on a limb and say Deadpool and the Joker sequel are already going to be better than Madam Web, and I have not seen even a trailer for either one of these. By the way, so on Google, Adam Scott is listed as Ben Parker. Now, I am not going to say that this is correct because they're often way wrong. Okay? Emma Roberts is listed as Mary Parker.
Mary.
Yes. Okay? So there's that. It's
going to be great. You guys don't know. You'll enjoy it.
I mean, it could go another way, and we might think it's so batshit crazy that we might find some level of entertainment value in this thing.
That's probably the best thing they can do. Probably the best thing they can do is make the movie so batshit crazy that we have to respect that they even tried to do it.
That they at least gave it a shot, and they had a wacky idea, and we're like, fuck it, let's go.
No, it's not going to work. This is going to be bad.
Wow, you are flip-flopping every other sentence here. You are there. It almost seems like you're about to book your ticket, right? And you're trying to justify buying this ticket to yourself. And this is the conversation that's going on in your head right now.
Yeah. When I go to watch that film that Thursday night, it's going to be like catching in a baseball game with no cup on. Like, as long as it doesn't catch me in the spot, I'll be all right.
Okay. We got a comment here, Travis Mitchell, joining us on YouTube. Travis, what is up? What's going on? Thanks for joining the show. I don't know if you jumped in right now or earlier, but if you didn't, you're just jumping in now. Catch the rest of the What If review that we had went up. We're talking some crazy stuff about Madam Web right now because that's the next movie, the new movie we're going to get next month. So we're just spitballing about that at this point. Jason, has the Watcher returned to you?
Nope.
No,
there
he goes. You back?
I gotta tell you guys, this has been an interesting episode for a show that only had one subject.
I think
we ended up discussing The Walking Dead for about 20 minutes and Madam Web for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we talked about Madam Web more than I thought. Travis has another comment here who's joining us from YouTube. I remember that Shane Black Predator is one that was so bad, but I admired how off the wall insane it was. I mean, I guess I can agree because The Predator, for those who haven't seen it, was the well, now it's the second to last, so I forgot about Prey for a second. Was the last Predator movie that Shane Black went in and directed, and it was a batshit crazy movie. But like Travis is saying, kind of like what Rick was saying, at least they went for it and leaned into the insanity. Jason, I know you were having some connectivity issues, but Rick is pretty much saying, what if, so 10, 15 minutes into the movie, we find out that it is Ben Parker and we kind of have an idea of where this is going. Do you just kind of be like, fuck it, we're in for a wild roller coaster, insane ride. Let's see where this goes.
I mean, look, as Hunter S. Thompson once said, buy the ticket, take the ride. I mean, I'm there for the ride. And if we're gonna go crazy, let's go crazy. But it's got to be good. It's like what Rick said before. Random isn't always good. Random isn't always fun. Sometimes it's fucking weird. And like if it's purposeful, like if it's just, hey, isn't this interesting? Ha ha ha. Are you interested in this? No, it's gonna suck. But if it's like a purposeful story and it goes a bit batshit crazy, but it's well done, yeah, I'm in for the ride. And look, if I'm wrong about this movie, you guys know me. I'll come on here and I will out myself as being fucking wrong. as soon as I see it. And I think that because I don't mind changing my opinion, and I am fallible, much like everyone. But it's going to have to take a hell of a lot of legwork for them to get me invested, just because I've seen the other Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies. So they've got a lot of baggage they're carrying that isn't necessarily this movie's fault, but it is Sony's fault, and that is what it is.
That's fair. Travis has another comment, by the way. This is going to get crazy, so you guys just be prepared for this. All right, so Travis says that this won't happen, but if they revealed Madam Web intercepts Vulture when he's pulled into his universe, tasking him with recruiting Spider-Man's villains to basically become their Nick Fury, to help him, leading to Beyond Spider-Verse. Wow.
I'd be in for that.
Maybe in an animated series. Maybe in an animated series.
Look, do you think that's going to be any worse than what we're going to get? I mean, this is at least a plan. This is something.
I think that they're going to introduce their Spider-Man in this film. And that's going to be what turns the tide in the Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse.
They'll be getting the Spider-Man, and we find out that it's either Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield.
And it's not a post-credit scene. Like, he's introduced and he takes part in the end of the movie. I think that he just hasn't been shown. If he just hasn't been shown in anything yet. You know, they did hold out the two big guys in the other Spider-Man movie. Like, we all thought they were going to be there. We assumed they were going to be there, but we didn't know they were going to be there.
No, that's true. I mean, the rumors
but the other
were
Spider-Man movie was marketed by the MCU, was marketed by like Disney. This is Sony. Like Disney's like, all right, we have something. Let's have a scalpel. This is a tool we need for some fine precision. Whereas Sony's just been like, oh, we need a scalpel. Give me a chisel and a hammer. I got this shit. Like,
break that bottle real quick.
Exactly. So what you're proposing is interesting, but like if Sony has Andrew Garfield in their movie, you don't think that they're falling over themselves to tell you like yesterday, like, guys, we got Andrew Garfield, come see our movie. You see, we got a Spider-Man now. That's why I don't think you're right, because if they had a Spider-Man, it would have been all over every
you
single
think they would
trailer.
have fumbled
Because
the bag
Sony
and
doesn't.
told us?
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
Or
Because
maybe
more
they
people
are.
would show up if they know Andrew Garfield is there. More people are going to show up than if it's a secret. Whereas the MCU knew we were all going to see that fucking movie anyway. It didn't matter if we knew who was going to be in it, and they already leaked that there were going to be people in it, so they gave us a little taste without giving us the whole meal. Sony can't do that. It never has. Not for this stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. Some more comments here. Madam Web looks like that NBC show you'd see ads for in 2004, but never watched. Then 10 years later, you Google it in line at a Subway, finding out it was canceled after 6 episodes.
This sounds like it really happened to you, Travis, and I appreciate you sharing that.
I definitely think it did, and I would like to know the name of that show because I'm pretty sure it's one we've all seen ads for sure.
I would have to
It
go
says,
back
my
and
fear
look
is that
for it.
all of the Spider-Man references will be stripped from the movie when it's released, except for calling her Madam Web. So basically saying that your fear is what happened with Morbius, because that's exactly what happened to Morbius.
Yeah.
Or they just shot scenes. Like, ooh, maybe this can sell tickets, and let's throw it in a trailer and get people to think Spider-Man's in this fucking movie. But we know they're not.
Right. That's and see, that's my point. If they may try to make us think Spider-Man was in Morbius and he wasn't, if they actually had a Spider-Man in their movie, it would be Madam Web starring Spider-Man. You know,
they would do what they did in the comics. They would do what they did in the comics. They would have the movie poster and Spider-Man's face on the side. Special
and the little box on the side.
It would be the little box, but it would be like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield just smiling, like, I guess Spider-Man. Oh, man.
There he is.
That's great. Yes, exactly.
There you
That's
go.
exactly
There
what
you
the
go.
poster should be. Hey, I would respect if the movie poster had that black and white picture of Spider-Man on it, just in the corner.
Wow, I just found some
I would
fire over here. Lord knows how long these comics have been sitting
Oh
there.
my god.
But check that out. Wolverine and Havoc, Meltdown. Great 4-issue series. Apparently I have 3 of them.
There we go. You
Might have
lost
to
the
read
other
that
one.
one.
Which number did you lose? 1, 2, or 3 or 4? Tell me you lost 1.
2 is missing, so I can read the story. I just don't know what really happens in the beginning.
You could catch up.
The Spider-Man dude, which is Ezekiel in this, who, by the way, just for those who are not familiar, he doesn't have a fucking costume that looks anything like this in the comics. That's why I think his suit is them saying, "Look, Spider-Man! Look, Spider-Man!" But not
Yeah.
really. And Madam Web looks like Kane's ass in WWE. Probably not for all right. Anything? We got anything else we want to jump into before we sign? Because I did not see this one coming.
No, we can go into Craven next episode.
Yeah, pretty much. Next week, after we talk about Echo, Rick is going to open up his comic box and just start reeling off fucking titles out of there. And then Jason is going to witness what I saw when I shipped these comics to him. That's going to be next week's episode.
Can we have a segment like that where Rick just pulls a random comic out every time he's on and shows it to us?
We can do Rando pulls. Rando pull.
I have my collection to the side of me in the white box here.
Do you really?
But mine is not as random. You can guess what my collection is. It's like 70% Spider-Man. Then there's some Batman and there's some X-Men in there.
There you go.
I'm all over the
Mine
place.
is mostly Batman and X-Men.
You gotta read Independence.
And of course, the original Infinity Gauntlet.
Yes, that I do have in there too. I do have all the episode, the issues of that. Which is why years ago we did that swap of a graphic novel.
That's right.
Remember, we did that swap in the laundry.
That's right, we did.
Where I gave you some Spider-Man, you gave me some Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's you got the Killing Joke, right? That's when you read the Killing Joke.
Yes, that's what I had read it. I'm like,
and
yes,
you had given
awesome.
me. It is awesome, and you had given me like the Venom, like the Spider-Man compendium of like the actual Venom origin story when he gets the suit, which I think that was around when Spider-Man 3 was so long ago. It was around when Spider-Man 3 came out, and it was part of what got me so excited and why I was so disappointed, because I'm like, in the trailer when they're showing the bell, I'm like, they're doing the bell scene.
2 more comments. Well, by the way, Travis's next comment is all for Rick. I am faithful that they'll learn from their mistakes from the past few films, and Lord and Miller will have some input onto these live-action movies. Travis, I've said this before on this show. I think Lord and Miller should become the Kevin Feige of the Sony Spider-Man the Spider-Verse, but that's just apparently not going to happen. I don't know what they're waiting for if they didn't do it at this point. Or they just might be like, you want to know something? Fuck you. Do what you're going to do with this thing. And we're going to keep our good stuff in the animated world because that's what people love. Nobody likes your shit. We don't want to poison our movies with yours. So let's just keep it separate. I'm holding out for a Night Thrasher movie. A skateboarding vigilante with paintball armor would be awesome. And I know all 3 of us are familiar with Night Thrasher because that was also at that period where we got Darkhawk and Sleepwalker and stuff. And Wonder
Pretty
Woman.
sure I have the first 12 issues
of Night Thrasher.
they might still be in the plastic that they got delivered in my mailbox, and I might never have opened them.
And Travis, I'll tell you, when you get your Night Thrasher movie, I want my Sleepwalker movie because that is my Night Thrasher. That's my obscure guy that I love. Sleepwalker. I have most of his run. I think he only had 20 issues, and I have maybe 17 of them.
So you complete that collection, Jason.
I really should go back and they're probably cheaper than they were when they came out, right?
Oh, for sure. I finished off my New Mutants collection. I got 1 through 100.
I have number one.
Oh,
still.
nice.
No, I have no. Sorry, not New Mutants. I have X Factor number one.
I got that one. I got the first 10 X Factor. I've never read them. That was when I started buying things and not reading them. That was a bad year for me.
I would read them very carefully and then just like slip them into the plastic. A couple more here. My first time reading Morbius. He thinks he needs to talk to Spider-Man, so he kills an abusive pimp named Dick Packer.
That's awesome.
Slaps a note on
That's
him
awesome.
and throws him off a roof with a tail.
Dick Packer. Oh, it's such a shame I've already had my first son, because if I didn't, I would.
And then this is actually my random character, because Jason, as much as he wants Sleepwalker, I would go with a randomness of Darkhawk, who Travis mentions here. Darkhawk is legit awesome. Had they done a movie back then, I picture Michael J. Fox or Christian Slater. Man, I don't know who I would go
If
for.
you guys are going to get those, I'd rather have a ROM movie. And we see the Space Knight just flying around and whooping ass.
Well, I was going to say you would go for like ROM or Micronauts.
Micronauts series. They got to do a trilogy. If the Guardians of the Galaxy got a trilogy, the Micronauts got to have a trilogy.
But you're going to have to find some filmmaker as badass as James Gunn to be able to pull that off, because I do wonder if someone else besides James Gunn would have been able to make the Guardians of the Galaxy all beloved as it is. That's a difficult tone to strike.
That is.
Yeah.
I think other people could have done it. Not many. Like it would take someone special. I'm not saying James Gunn's the only person who could have done it, because I'm sure there are a lot of talented people out there I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a special something that James Gunn has. Not anyone could have done that.
Well, yeah, because his 4 comic book movies and his special revolve around taking a group of, outcasts and making them a lovable, likable group in the end and endearing to you. So, All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this up then. That's it for us this week. Thanks for joining us. As always, if you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check out Granny's Peach Tea's Facebook group. That's where we share a bunch of stories and trailers and whatnot that don't make the show every week, so it's a lot of fun. Also, check out Pop Culture Pros. That's why we are presented by popculturepros.com. If you're checking us out on YouTube, hit subscribe to Pop Culture Pros and check out all the cool stuff that's on there as well. And if you're checking us out on X, never forget X, you can go ahead and follow us there as well. And wherever you found your audio only podcast. Yes, Travis, thank you. Happy New Year as well.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we'll hope to see you next week and moving forward as well. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be back. We'll get that date out exactly when, but we will be talking about the entire 5-episode run of Echo. So we'll see. We're excited for that. We get to see Charlie Cox's Daredevil next week. We get some Kingpin back in our lives. We know that as well. So excited for that. We'll be talking about that. And who the hell else knows what we'll be talking about right afterwards? We'll see where it takes us.
Who knows?
So we'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya.
Later.